On this show, when we speak about leadership, we define it as a human act. This is an important distinction, and it's one that we'll unpack. Describing it as a human act brings us to the point where we've got to answer the question, what is it to be human? What is it to be man? What is it to be a woman? And I think it's important that we recognize at the heart of leadership, when two people come together and undergo any sort of relationship and any sort of effort to advance a cause, it requires one who has a concept for excellence to elevate the other into that same good of shared connection and shared human flourishing. This is an important distinction, and we'll unpack it.
I went to a prayer meeting or something many years ago, and somebody there were two things. One was a woman who had some kind of, you could see there was a problem with her dad, some kind of strained relationship with her father. And I got the impression that he was no longer on earth. And she didn't say he was or wasn't, and you can see that there was some kind of strife between them.
Yeah.
And she didn't say anything negative about him. But all she said was something like, all I know is that when I think of my dad, I remember him getting on his knees every morning. And I think like that degree of vulnerability, like that, like we think leadership means like he had to do this, 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 and this to lead her.
Right.
And yes, I guess there are things that you should do this.
Sure. Yeah.
And did he have any idea that getting on his knees every day, or maybe he struggled with, let's make up something. Maybe he struggled with drinking or struggled with some kind of, and he, every day, what she saw was a man who was trying.
Yeah.
And that's how she led him.
Yeah.
And he probably has no idea that he led her.
Yeah.
And I think that's that working in obscurity. Like, we don't know who's watching. We don't even know what we're good at. Right? We only can be authentically who we are in that moment and release that vulnerability. We have to be able to let others, and this is the other part, the two things I had in mind, let others bless you. We must let others bless us. And I think people who are in leadership positions get so used to carrying everything that, and it may not even be out of ego or pride, like made me with my wife, and you just, I wouldn't, let's just say I didn't let her do that to me. I'm good. And I leave the room because I'm embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
You can say, well, it's not maybe out of ego or pride. Maybe it's just I'm so locked in what I perceive to be leadership that I actually don't get led by her in order to become a better leader. And I think we get so used to we're blessing people, we're leading people, we're helping people, I'm teaching people, I'm coaching people.
Yeah.
Right? And I like these analogies. And to me, it's you go to see your grandmother. Okay. And I grew up in a very Italian area, right? I wasn't Italian, but I was always around Italians. And the sauce is cooking. Right? And it's cooking for hours, man.
Yeah.
And you're like on Atkins or something, You're living a different life. You don't want to eat that pasta. You don't want to eat the pasta. Because that's how that grandmother blesses people. Sometimes you have to let them bless you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just sit down and eat the pasta.
Yeah, it's a gift of shared human experience.
Because it's we can't steal people's blessing. Like they have this idea they can bless you in a certain way, and we interfere with them giving to us.
Yeah.
And I think like the ego and pride is so sneaky that we can easily, it's like the dad who says, I can't make the baseball game. I can't make the baseball game. I can't make and then there's a little pushback. I'm working. How could you question me? I'm working. I'm putting a roof over this head. All true.
Yeah, I feel like you were watching me the other
day. Right? All true, but we know from the outside, watching the Hallmark Channel, whatever show it's on, right? If it was a show, right?
I'm like, where were you?
Like, no. But yet, so we have this, and we do the same with leadership, where we're so busy leading that we want anybody else.
We're so busy leading that we're not leading.
We're not leading anyway. Everybody's running away.
Everyone's running away. No, that's right, man. What do you think about this idea, Howie? I'm curious to know. A part of my presentation is that leadership is under assault in our society today, in a lot of ways, because I think we don't understand what it is. I think the idea of leadership is under assault. The concept has been, there's traditional seats of authority and power that are typically associated with authority. I think that, sadly and very destructively, the collapse of the family,
Of course.
and the absence of many fathers within the
course.
family is an example of an institution that's under assault.
Sure.
I think that civil discourse around politics leads to a degrading of what used to be sort of like a societal ethos of respect and civility. I think that many of our public officials today, if you look at the confidence rating of elected officials at all levels of government, it does appear that there's a downward trend in confidence. The judiciary seems to be under assault, especially at the highest level of the nation,
Sure.
Supreme Court, and then different judges are being thought of as being political operatives because they were placed into a position by different politicians. The whole defund the police, like first responders. If you look at confidence rating among first responders today versus the post 9/11, and I mean immediately after 9/11, and you look at the degree of confidence, even among military officials, the amount of confidence we have in those particular seats of authority, and whether or not the military is promoting the right values or promoting the right ideas. To me, it seems that those institutions of Western civilization are under assault. And this isn't a political statement, it's just a reality that it seems, according to all the different measurements that are available to us, polls, census, census sessions and that sort of thing. It seems to me that people are in a terrible state today. There's despair. There's spikes in mental health concerns. Suicidal rates are on the increase. People seem to lack purpose and meaning in life. Without citing any scientific studies, the general sense of the people I interact with on a regular basis desire leadership. They desire some kind of connection, some sort of direction. And it seems as if they're searching for it. So I'm curious to know from you and your experiences, if you want to speak to this, as we're looking to promote a vision of leadership that is magnanimous and sort of inspirational, of course, but at the heart and the root of it has to deal with connecting on a deep fundamental level with an individual to just simply give them purpose, because they seem to lack that in their lives. That's what we're attempting to do here. But I'm curious to know if you agree, like, is leadership under assault in our society? What would you say about the current state of affairs in some regard?
That's a big one. It's I honestly think it's a mixed bag.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot. The world has changed so much in the sense of, I agree that there's despair. I agree that there's a lack of leadership, not in every aspect, but I think the media, and I don't mean just the news media, I mean the way we communicate.
The way we communicate.
The way we communicate is so radically different.
Yeah.
And so there's so much communication. This is a bad paradox, right?
Yeah.
This is the negative side of it, right? There's so much communication. There's never been a time when you can communicate more. Yes, right? We all agree. Right? I mean, I could take a class with a professor in Japan today, right now, this second, right? I mean, it's incredible, right? Or I could talk to my friend in Africa, right? And yet there's never been a degree of less communication.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's no doubt. I mean, I see it with young people. They don't call each other.
Yeah.
They don't hang out.
Yeah.
Like, hang out, talk. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Do stupid things, like climb on the roof so I can yell at you, get off the roof.
Yeah.
Like, they're not doing those kind of things. They're not being kids. They're not, so we're so much bullying, and yet there's no fun, like, pushing around each other, which is the fun part of, there's so much, there's so much health. There's so many options to be cured. And yet we seem to be the most unhealthy people in the world. So
Yeah.
we have this really strange place.
Yeah.
There's so much freedom to express yourself,
and
and
we've
yet
never
we've
been
never
more-
had more censorship.
We've never been more captive, held captive.
Yeah,
by,
I mean, there's a
Yeah.
huge degree of censorship, and I'm
Yeah.
not talking about political. There's a degree of censorship
Yeah.
that's really, really wild right now.
yeah,
But I don't believe that's ever been like that in my life, where there is really, it's so heightened right now that
yeah,
like there's language you can use, language you can't. It's so complicated. Every time I say something, my daughter looks at me like, "You can't say that. I don't even know what I'm saying. I don't even know what. What do you mean I
Yeah.
can't say that? What do they say? I don't even know what he's talking
yeah.
about." You know?
Well, there's a lot of really interesting slang words
Yeah.
that used to mean something when I was growing
Yeah.
up that have like a whole different
Yeah,
meaning.
maybe I
So
guess it's a generational
so-
thing
yeah.
too, you know. But
Yeah.
I think like we are living in this reverse negative paradox of wild swings, wild. You know, we're on the verge of World War III, and we're on the verge of like practically utopia, like
Yeah.
in the sense of like
All
we
at the
can
same
really
time
we
and
can
not at
really
all.
all
Yeah.
like work this out and
Yeah,
you know and be able to communicate and like wow we can have like one world where we all exist and or there could be nuclear holocaust tomorrow.
yeah.
I mean, it's really, I think, so I don't know. I will say this, when I get really, really overwhelmed, which is quite easy, I bring it back real low, you know?
yeah,
I bring it back to like my surroundings, the people who are sitting around
Sure.
here. And we need marriage.
yeah,
Marriage is really important.
yeah,
And that's not a judgment against marriages that break up. It's not a good, but people can't find somebody. No,
right,
we need to cherish marriage. We need to cherish friendships.
yeah,
You know, we need to really, really work on those relationships, those
Yeah.
friendships, and they don't have to be a lot. But like, if there's a few people that you could connect to and talk
Yeah.
like this,
yeah,
then you got to do it.
yeah,
And it's not something we got to get away from the idea that it's a luxury. It's a necessity.
yeah,
Like prayer is a necessity. Like you have to pray.
right.
You have to sit still.
Even more than you need breath.